Right now, Diddy is sitting in a jail cell and he is fuming because Cassie just beat him at his own game. And honestly, the way this whole thing has played out is even crazier than anyone saw coming. Picture him pacing back and forth like a trapped animal. And it's not only because he's literally locked up, it's because the woman he tried so hard to break just walked away with $30 million and left the country, and now all he's got left is his reputation, and that's not worth much either. And honestly, good for her. If you've been keeping up with this whole ugly story, you already know about the hotel security video, the so-called freak-offs, and the federal charges against him. But what's happening right now is a brand new twist, and it shows exactly who Diddy really is when things don't go his way. Before we dive into this mess, quick favor. If you like these kinds of breakdowns, go ahead and subscribe to Metro Society so you don't miss the next one. Trust me, this story just keeps getting stranger every single week. Just when you think it can't get any wilder, it somehow does. So here's what actually set Diddy off this time. TMZ got a copy of a legal statement Cassie filed on May 1st as part of her ongoing lawsuit. In it, she says plainly, and you can almost hear her calm, steady voice saying it, "I live outside of the United States. I have no plans to move back." She also made it clear that even though she's still an American citizen, she no longer lives in California. This wasn't some spontaneous getaway. It wasn't a, "I just need a break" trip to unwind somewhere quiet. This was a planned move. She found out Diddy was plotting something against her, and she made sure she was nowhere near him when it happened. The same man who used to control everything about her, what she wore, who she spoke to, where she went, even what she ate and said in public, can't even reach her now, and that's eating him alive. The timing here really matters, because it shows just how deliberate Cassie's choices have been. She testified against Diddy in his federal criminal trial last summer while she was pregnant and living in New York. Just think about that for a second. She was going through everything that comes with pregnancy, and she still walked into that courtroom to face the man who had hurt her for years. She sat there, visibly pregnant, looked him straight in the eye, and gave her testimony. She didn't back down. She did what needed to be done. Then, after getting that $30 million settlement, $20 million from Diddy himself over the alleged abuse, and another $10 million from the hotel that hid the footage and later sold it to him, she quietly left. No announcement, no press conference, no social media victory lap. She simply filed the paperwork, packed up her family, and disappeared. No drama, no big scene, just silence, and thousands of miles between her and her abuser. And here's where things get really telling about Diddy's mindset. In a pretty disturbing twist. And take this next part with a grain of salt, because who really knows if anyone's actually still in touch with Diddy's camp? And if they are, they're probably not being straight with anyone. Word is, Diddy genuinely expected Cassie to stay in the US. He apparently had a whole plan for after his appeal. He was going to make her life difficult. Harass her, scare her, send people to close in on her, file legal motions, make calls, pass messages through others, all to remind her that she could never fully get away from him. The man actually thought he'd get his revenge eventually. He was going to take back what he lost, rebuild his image, and prove nobody could walk away from him unpunished. That was the fantasy keeping him going in that jail cell, and Cassie wiped it out completely with one court filing. What makes this even sadder is that Diddy's circle of loyalists is falling apart financially. His guys can barely scrape together enough money to show up at his court dates in the Southern District of New York. Some of them are reportedly borrowing cash just to sit in the courtroom and look supportive. The idea that this same crew is somehow going to track Cassie down overseas and pull off some elaborate revenge plan? That's not just unlikely, it's laughable. It shows just how out of touch with reality things have gotten. The same man who once had unlimited money and an army of people ready to do whatever he wanted. Running errands, delivering packages, threatening people, keeping quiet about what they'd seen, is now stuck pacing in a cell while his old associates go on podcasts crying about being cut off from the industry. Stevie J and Young Miami can complain all they want about nobody calling them back. That's what happens when your whole identity is tied to someone facing federal charges. That's what happens when your career only existed because of someone else's power. And that power is gone now. But let's talk about what's really bothering Diddy. It's not just that Cassie left, it's that she left with more money, more freedom, and more dignity than he'll probably ever have again. This is a man who thought he'd completely broken her. He punished her, humiliated her, and shamed her in ways most people can't even picture. He got her addicted to drugs, His own lawyers admitted in court that she was heavily under the influence during much of what happened, though they tried to twist that into some kind of excuse for him, as if her being unable to fully consent somehow made his actions less horrific. He set up situations where she had to perform, had to say certain things, had to humiliate herself while he watched. He treated her like property, something to pose, control, and show off. And despite years of him trying to break her down, she still walked away with $30 million, a husband who genuinely protects her, kids who are doing great, and a life overseas that he simply cannot touch. He can't even send her a text that would reach her. He can't have someone accidentally run into her somewhere. All he can do is sit in that cell and think about how completely she got away. Her husband matters a lot in this story because Alex Fine isn't like the other men who came and went while Diddy was still calling the shots. There were rumors, and I believe them, that Alex actually confronted Diddy directly. This was back when Cassie and Diddy were supposedly finished, but Diddy still acted like she belonged to him, and most men in the industry would disappear the moment Diddy made that clear. One look from him at a party, one phone call from someone on his team, and they'd vanish. Alex reportedly told him something like, "Come find me, I'm not scared of you, and I'm not going anywhere," and neither is she. That was the first time anyone genuinely stood up to Diddy over Cassie and didn't cave. Kid Cudi tried once. He dated Cassie briefly, and we all remember what happened. His car got blown up. But after that, Cassie ended up going back to Diddy anyway. The pattern kept repeating. Alex, though, stayed. He married her. He built a family with her. And now he's with her wherever they've settled, living a life Diddy can only dream about from behind bars. Family dinners, bedtime stories, quiet mornings with coffee. All the simple things Diddy gave up chasing power and control instead. Diddy's obsession with Cassie goes way past a bitter ex. This isn't someone who's just annoyed his ex-girlfriend moved on. This is a man who built his whole identity around control, and Cassie is the one person who took it all apart. She's the reason that hotel footage exists in the public eye. She's the reason the lawsuit happened. She's the reason federal investigators started looking into him at all. She's the crack that turned into a full collapse. Everything that's fallen apart around him. The criminal case, the lawsuits, the lost business empire, the public disgrace, all traces back to the moment she decided to speak up after staying quiet for years. And instead of any kind of self-reflection, instead of even a moment of, "What have I done?" his response is to plan revenge from a jail cell. He wants to wreck her marriage. He wants to bring chaos into her peaceful life. He still seems to believe that if he could just get close enough, he could win her back, make her submit again. That's not love. It never was love. It's controlling behavior dressed up to look like love, and the disguise is completely gone now. It's actually been gone for a while, but now it's obliterated for good. Something that keeps coming up in my head is how small this all is, in every sense of the word. There have long been rumors about Diddy's body, and someone named Sly Diggler, who was reportedly connected to a pre-golf situation, apparently confirmed a certain claim, with some people saying it's on the smaller side. And look, I'm not someone who thinks making fun of someone's body solves anything. But there's a pattern here that's hard to ignore. The comparisons to Jeffrey Epstein practically write themselves. Another powerful man rumored to have deep insecurities who turned that anger into years of abusing women. Is that really what all of this comes down to? Feeling inadequate. So instead of dealing with it like an adult, you spend decades hurting women, drugging them, trafficking them, filming them without consent, forcing them to perform while you watch. All because you couldn't sit with your own insecurities. You could have gone to therapy. You could have had one honest conversation with yourself. You could have funded scholarships, fought world hunger, built hospitals. You had the money to do almost anything positive. Instead, you tried to make everyone else pay for how small you felt inside. And now the whole world can see exactly what you were trying to hide. And then there are the women who still stand by him. That's its own disturbing layer. The whole support system around Diddy is honestly hard to wrap your head around. First, you've got the men who did his dirty work, which is bad enough on its own. Then you've got the women supporting those men. Then you've got women actively trying to get noticed by men who abuse women. Each layer somehow gets worse than the last. Each one takes more denial, more looking the other way, more willingness to be part of something that could easily hurt someone just like them. At what point does shame kick in? At what point do you watch that hallway footage, a woman in a towel, beaten, being dragged back down the hall, and think, maybe I need new company? At what point do you realize being close to power doesn't protect you? It just makes you the next possible target? Cassie's statement about leaving the country is tied to her ongoing legal case, and nobody actually knows exactly where she is now. I've got a few guesses, but I'm not going to say them out loud, because Diddy's people probably still watch content like this, and they're not getting any leads from me. They can do their own digging and waste their own time doing it. What I will say is that the financial state of Diddy's remaining supporters makes chasing her internationally pretty much impossible. These guys can barely afford gas money to get to court. The idea that they'll somehow fund an overseas search, hire private investigators, navigate foreign laws, and track down a woman with $30 million and no fixed US address? That's a fantasy. The kind of thing you cook up when you've been surrounded by yes men for so long you've lost touch with how the real world actually works. If Cassie picked her new home carefully, with good advice and real resources behind her, she's not coming back until she wants to, if she ever does. She might never set foot in the US again, and honestly, that's completely her call. The way TMZ is framing this as Cassie fleeing is kind of ridiculous, honestly. Nobody flees with $30 million. Fleeing means running away with nothing, out of fear, in a hurry. Cassie relocated on her own terms, after winning her case and securing serious financial security. That's not fleeing, that's winning. That's a calculated decision to protect her peace and her family. She looked at everything. The trial, the supporters gathering outside the courthouse acting like animals, the whole ugly circus playing out in the media, and decided her family didn't need to be anywhere near it. Why would she stick around? So Diddy could try to carry out whatever plan he had cooked up? So she'd have to look over her shoulder at the grocery store? So her kids could grow up worrying that their mom's abuser might send someone after them? She made the smart choice, the same one anyone in her position, with her history and her means, would probably make. She chose safety and stability over spectacle. That hotel payout is worth pointing out again, because it shows just how deep the cover-up really went. $10 million from a hotel chain that sold surveillance footage to the very man who assaulted a woman in their hallway. They saw the footage. They knew exactly what was on it. They watched a woman being attacked, and instead of calling the police or doing anything close to the right thing, they sold that footage to her abuser, and only paid up once they got caught. Cassie received $10 million for that, and if you ask me, it should have been more. The fact that so many people and institutions looked the other way for so long is the only reason Diddy got as far as he did. Hotels, record labels, lawyers, assistants, drivers, security, event planners, an entire network of people who either ignored what was happening or actively helped cover it up, because the money and access were too good to give up. Everyone had a price, and Diddy knew exactly what it was. Now Diddy is sitting in jail, waiting to see if his appeal goes anywhere, and reportedly, he's furious. Not sorry, not reflective, not spending time thinking about the damage he's caused or the lives he's affected. Just angry. Angry his plans fell apart. Angry Cassie is out of reach. Angry she's living a life he can't ruin. He's still walking around like he's got power, like his name still means something outside those walls. But the truth is, his name, his reputation, his connections, and most of his money are gone or close to it. The brand deals disappeared. The industry contacts went quiet. People who used to call him back in seconds now act like they never knew him. If he ever gets out, about the only thing left for him will be relationships that don't come with strings attached, because anything else could break his parole. And even that assumes anyone out there would actually want to be near him after everything that's come out. It assumes there's a single person on Earth who saw that hallway footage and thought, yeah, I'd like to spend time with that guy. Meanwhile, Cassie is somewhere overseas with her husband and kids, enjoying the kind of peace that $30 million and a clear conscience can buy. She wakes up without fear. She sleeps at night without worrying about what he might try next. She doesn't have to sit through any more trials unless she chooses to. She doesn't have to see his face, hear his voice, or wonder what he's plotting. She doesn't have to check a room for danger every time she walks in somewhere. She removed herself completely, and that's the one move Diddy never planned for. He assumed he could always find a way back to her. He assumed being in the same country meant he had a shot at reaching her again. He was wrong about all of it. The man who once controlled every part of her life now has no way to reach her at all. And honestly, that might be the most fitting ending anyone could have written for this chapter. Diddy can keep pacing in that cell, dreaming up schemes that will never happen, writing revenge plans that will never leave his notebook, while Cassie lives her life thousands of miles away, completely out of his reach. The roles have completely flipped. The man who spent years making people feel small and trapped is now the one stuck behind bars, pacing, scheming, and stewing, while the woman he tried to break is thriving without him. She's out there somewhere, probably in a bright, peaceful home with a garden, raising her kids, loving her husband, building a future, while he stares at concrete walls, thinking about everything he lost. If there's any real justice in this story, that's exactly where he'll stay,